Discovery of the ancient bunker. The frigid winds howled across the desolate Arctic landscape as Dr. Ava Chen trudged through knee-deep snow. Her breath came in ragged gasps, visible in the frigid air even through her protective mask. Behind her, a team of researchers struggled to keep pace, their heavy equipment slowing their progress. "We're close," Ava called out, her voice barely audible over the roaring gale. "The energy readings are getting stronger." For weeks, Ava and her team had been tracking bizarre energy fluctuations emanating from deep beneath the ice. It was unlike anything they'd ever encountered, a power source that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Whatever it was, it had lain hidden for millennia, buried under layers of ice and secrecy. As they crested a ridge, Ava's eyes widened. There, nestled in a valley of ice and rock, stood a massive metal door. Its surface was scarred and pitted, testimony to the countless years it had endured. But what truly caught her attention was the faint blue glow emanating from its seams. "Impossible," breathed Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's historian. "This structure, it predates the Great Exodus. It shouldn't exist." 500,000 years ago, humanity had abandoned Earth, fleeing an impending cosmic catastrophe. Also, the history books claimed. But if this bunker was as old as it appeared, it told a very different story. Ava approached the door cautiously, her handheld scanner beeping frantically. "The energy signature is coming from inside. Whatever's powering this place, it's still active after all this time." She ran her gloved hand over the smooth metal surface, marveling at its construction. No modern material could have withstood the test of time so well. As her fingers traced the edge of the door, she felt a slight give. With a soft hiss, a hidden panel slid open, revealing an ancient keypad. "It's some kind of locking mechanism," Ava murmured. "But the technology, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." Dr. Tanaka peered over her shoulder, his eyes widening in recognition. "Those aren't just random symbols. It's an old Earth language, English, I believe. But why would?" His words trailed off as the implications sank in. If this bunker used an ancient human language, it could only mean one thing: it was built by their ancestors, long before the supposed Exodus. Ava's mind raced. Everything they'd been taught about Earth's history suddenly seemed suspect. Why had this bunker been hidden? What secrets lay behind that impenetrable door? With trembling fingers, she began inputting possible combinations, drawing on her limited knowledge of the old language. Minutes stretched into hours as the team huddled around her, the howling wind forgotten in the face of this monumental discovery. Just as despair began to set in, the keypad suddenly lit up with a soft green glow. There was a deep, resonant thrum, and slowly, ponderously, the massive door began to swing open. Stale air rushed out, carrying with it the musty scent of ages past. Ava switched on her helmet lights, illuminating a long corridor stretching into darkness. The walls were lined with strange, flickering panels that seemed to pulse with an inner light. "My God," whispered one of the researchers, "it's still powered up. After all this time." Ava took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "All right, team, let's move in. Stay alert and document everything. Whatever's in here could rewrite history as we know it." As they ventured deeper into the bunker, the true scale of the facility became apparent. It wasn't just a simple shelter, it was a vast underground complex, filled with technology far beyond their current understanding. In one chamber, they found rows upon rows of sleek metallic pods, each large enough to hold a person. Ava's scanner indicated faint life signs emanating from within. "Cryogenic suspension," she breathed, scarcely able to believe it. "They're still alive in there." The implications were staggering. These weren't just artifacts of a long-dead civilization. These were living, breathing humans from Earth's distant past, preserved in a hibernation that had lasted for 500,000 years. As the team pressed on, they encountered more wonders. Libraries filled with ancient knowledge, laboratories housing strange machines, and at the heart of it all, a massive reactor thrumming with power. "This changes everything," Dr. Tanaka said, his voice filled with awe. "The version of history we've been taught, it's all wrong. Humanity didn't flee Earth, they went into hiding. But why?" Ava was about to respond when a flashing light on one of the control panels caught her attention. With a sense of trepidation, she approached it, studying the unfamiliar symbols. Suddenly, the room was filled with a computerized voice, speaking in that same ancient language. Though the words were unintelligible to her, the tone was unmistakable. It was a warning. As klaxons began to blare throughout the facility, Ava realized with a jolt of fear that they had triggered some kind of automated defense system. The bunker was awakening, and with it, the last remnants of a humanity long thought lost to time. In that moment, as chaos erupted around her, Dr. Ava Chen knew that the course of galactic history was about to change forever. The lost children of Earth were stirring from their long slumber, and the universe would never be the same. Awakening the last survivors. The bunker's alarms blared, echoing through the cavernous chambers as Ava and her team scrambled to make sense of the chaos unfolding around them. The ancient computer systems, dormant for millennia, had sprung to life with startling swiftness. "We need to shut it down," Dr. Tanaka shouted over the din, his fingers flying over an incomprehensible control panel. "If this place goes into full lockdown, we'll be trapped." Ava's mind raced, trying to decipher the flashing warnings on the screens. Her limited knowledge of the ancient language was proving woefully inadequate. As she frantically searched for a way to halt the awakening process, a new sound cut through the cacophony, a slow, rhythmic hissing. The cryogenic pods were opening. "Everyone, stay calm," Ava commanded, though her own heart was pounding. "We don't know what condition they'll be in. Be prepared for anything." Steam billowed from the first pod as its lids slowly rose. The team held their breath, unsure whether they were about to make first contact with their ancient ancestors or face some unknown threat. A hand emerged from the mist, grasping the edge of the pod. Then, with a gasp that seemed to carry the weight of 500,000 years, a figure sat up. He was human, unmistakably so, yet there was something different about him. His eyes, a startling shade of violet, darted around the room with an intensity that belied his long slumber. When he spoke, his voice was hoarse but clear. "Who are you? What year is it?" The ancient language flowed from his lips, but to Ava's astonishment, she understood every word. Somehow, in the chaos of the awakening, her mind had bridged the linguistic gap. "I'm Dr. Ava Chen," she replied, her own words automatically translating. "And the year? It's 502,023 by your calendar." The man's eyes widened in shock, but before he could respond, more pods began to open. Within minutes, the chamber was filled with disoriented, newly awakened humans, all staring at Ava's team with a mixture of fear and wonder. A woman with striking silver hair stepped forward, her bearing regal despite her obvious confusion. "I am Lyra, leader of the Terran Preservation Project. We were meant to sleep for a century, maybe two. How is it possible we slumbered for 500,000 years?" Ava struggled to find the words to explain a history that she herself was only beginning to question. "There's so much we don't understand. The records of your time, they're incomplete, often contradictory. We were taught that humanity fled Earth, but clearly that's not the whole truth." Lyra exchanged glances with her fellow sleepers, a silent communication passing between them. "No," she said softly, "it's not. We chose to remain, to preserve the true heart of humanity while a decoy exodus led our enemies away." "Enemies?" Dr. Tanaka interjected, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. "What enemies?" A tall, broad-shouldered man with cybernetic implants visible at his temples stepped forward. "The consortium," he growled, his voice laden with old hatred. "A coalition of alien races threatened by humanity's rapid advancement. They gave us an ultimatum: submit to their rule or face extinction." "I'm Commando Axios," he continued, nodding to Lyra. head of security for the Preservation Project. We knew we couldn't win a direct confrontation, not then, so we devised a plan. A fake exodus to throw them off our scent, while the best and brightest of our people went into hiding, waiting for the day we could reclaim our world. Ava's mind reeled at the implications. Everything she thought she knew about Earth's history, about humanity's place in the galaxy, was crumbling before her eyes. As more of the sleepers awakened, the chamber buzzed with activity. Some marveled at Ava and her team, peppering them with questions about the current state of the galaxy. Others huddled in small groups, coming to terms with the vast sweep of time that had passed them by. Lara approached one of the still-functioning computer terminals, her fingers dancing across the controls with practiced ease. The bunker systems are intact, but there's so much data to process. Axios, what's the status of the Phoenix protocol? The commander consulted a holographic display that sprang to life at his touch. All systems green. The nanoforge is operational, and the seed vault is untouched. We can begin surface reclamation within days. Ava interrupted, her scientific training warring with the impossible situation before her. Wait, please, you can't just emerge. The Earth of today, it's not the world you left behind. And the galaxy, there are established powers, political structures. If you suddenly reveal yourselves, it could spark a war. Lara turned to her, violet eyes flashing with a determination that had not dimmed after 500 millennia. Dr. Chen, we appreciate your concern, but you must understand, this was always our intention. We didn't hide ourselves away to simply fade into history. We waited, we planned, we prepared. Humanity will reclaim its birthright. As if to punctuate her words, a deep rumble shook the bunker. On the main view screen, a satellite image of the Arctic surface appeared. The ice was shifting, massive plates grinding against each other as something enormous began to rise from the depths. The citadel, Axios said, a note of pride in his voice. Our fortress, our ark, our new beginning. Ava watched in awe as a structure of impossible size and complexity emerged from its icy tomb. It was a city, a starport, and a technological marvel beyond anything in the current galaxy. The sleepers had not been idle in their preparation. They had been building the seeds of a new civilization. As alarms began to blare once more, Laura turned to Ava and her team, her expression a mixture of gratitude and steely resolve. You've awakened us, Dr. Chen, and for that we thank you. But now you face a choice. The galaxy will soon know of our return. You can stand with us, help us navigate this new era. Or, she left the alternative unspoken, but Ava understood. They couldn't risk their revelation being premature. If Ava and her team chose not to ally themselves with these ancient humans, they would likely be detained, at least until the Terran Preservation Project could secure its position. Looking at her fellow researchers, seeing the mixture of fear and exhilaration on their faces, Ava knew there was really only one choice. They were scientists, explorers at heart, and they stood on the brink of the greatest discovery in human history. We'll help you, Ava said, her voice firm. Whatever comes next, we're in this together. Lyra nodded, a small smile playing at her lips. Then let us begin. The children of Earth have slept long enough. It's time for humanity to wake up. As the citadel rose fully from the ice, its systems connecting with the bunker complex, Ava felt a shiver of anticipation. The galaxy thought it knew the story of humanity. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Clash with alien authorities. The emergence of the citadel did not go unnoticed. Within hours, the skies above the Arctic were filled with sleek alien vessels, the watchdogs of the galactic community, drawn by the sudden appearance of unknown technology. Inside the newly risen citadel, Ava stood beside Lyra and Axios, watching the approaching ships on a holographic display. The ancient humans had wasted no time in bringing their systems online, and the level of technology at their fingertips was staggering. Consortium peacekeeping fleet, Axios growled, his cybernetic implants pulsing as he interfaced directly with the Citadel's defense grid. Some things never change. Lyra's face was a mask of calm determination. Open a channel. It's time we reintroduced ourselves to the galaxy. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the stern visage of an alien being. Its skin was a pale blue, with ridges running along its elongated skull. When it spoke, its voice was a harmonious blend of tones. Unknown structure, you have breached quarantine protocols for Sol 3. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Failure to comply will result in immediate defensive action. Lyra stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. This is Lyra, leader of the Terran Preservation Project. We are the rightful inhabitants of this world, and we do not recognize your authority here. Stand down and withdraw. The alien's multifaceted eyes widened in shock. Impossible. The humans of Sol 3 were relocated 500,000 years ago. This must be some kind of deception. No deception, Lyra countered. Merely the culmination of a long-laid plan. Humanity has returned to reclaim its homeworld. The alien commander's composure slipped, revealing a mix of confusion and growing alarm. This changes everything. I must consult with the Consortium Council. Maintain your position and take no further action. As the transmission cut off, Ava turned to Lyra. What now? They're not just going to let you declare independence and walk away. Axios snorted. Let them try to stop us. The Citadel's defenses are beyond anything they can throw at us. Lyra held up a hand, silencing him. We didn't sleep for 500,000 years just to start another war, Axios. But neither will we submit. She turned to Ava. Dr. Chen, your knowledge of the current galactic political landscape could be invaluable. What can we expect? Ava took a deep breath, organizing her thoughts. The consortium isn't as monolithic as it once was. There are factions, internal conflicts. Some might see your return as an opportunity, others as a threat. But one thing's certain, they won't be able to keep this quiet. News of humanity's return will spread fast. As if on cue, the communications array lit up with incoming transmissions. It seemed the galaxy was waking up to the shocking news. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL, Axios reported, his tone tense. News vessels, independent operators, even a few that looked like they might be smugglers hoping to cash in on the chaos. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Activate the outer defense perimeter. Non-lethal measures only. We need to control the flow of information. Ava watched in awe as shimmering fields of energy sprang to life around the Citadel, gently but firmly repelling the approaching vessels. The level of control and precision was unlike anything in modern defensive systems. Incoming transmission, Axios announced. It's the consortium again. The alien commander reappeared on screen, but this time he wasn't alone. Beside him stood a diverse group of beings, representatives from various consortium races. Terran Preservation Project. The commander began, his tone carefully neutral. The Consortium Council has convened an emergency session to address your unprecedented situation. We request a delegation be sent to neutral space for negotiations. Lyra exchanged glances with Axios and Ava. This was a critical moment, their first real diplomatic engagement with a galaxy that had moved on without them. We will agree to negotiations, Lyra said finally, but not on your terms. If the consortium wishes to speak with us, they will send their representatives here, to Earth. We have been absent from our home for too long. We will not leave it again so soon. The alien representatives bristled at this, but Lyra held firm. After a tense moment, the commander nodded. Very well. A delegation will be dispatched. But be warned, any hostile action will be met with the full might of the consortium fleet. As the transmission ended, Ava let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. That was bold, she said to Lyra. Are you sure it was wise to push them like that? Lyra's violet eyes gleamed with a mix of determination and something deeper, a hunger for justice long delayed. Dr. Chen, for 500,000 years, we have waited, planned, and prepared. We will not begin this new chapter of human history by bowing to the very powers that forced us into hiding. Axios nodded in agreement. Besides, by hosting the delegation here, we control the environment. It gives us a psychological advantage. And, Lyra added, it allows us to showcase exactly what humanity is capable of. The consortium thought they had written the final chapter of human history. It's time they learned how wrong they were. As the Citadel hummed with activity, preparing for the upcoming negotiations, Ava found herself both exhilarated and terrified. She had come to the Arctic seeking scientific discovery, but now found herself at the center of a galactic political firestorm. "What's our role in all this?" she asked, gesturing to herself and her team. Lyra placed a hand on Ava's shoulder, her touch surprisingly warm for someone so recently emerged from cryosleep. "You are our bridge, Dr. Chen. You understand both the world we left behind and the galaxy as it exists now. We'll need your insight to navigate these treacherous waters." Ava nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. As she looked out over the bustling command center of the Citadel, watching ancient humans working seamlessly with technology far beyond her understanding, she realized that history was being written around her. The lost children of Earth had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the first diplomatic vessels began their approach to the Citadel, Ava steeled herself for what was to come. The clash between the reawakened human civilization and the established galactic order was just beginning, and she was standing at ground zero. Whatever happened next would shape the fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. And Ava Chen, once a simple researcher, now found herself at the heart of it all. Escape from Earth. The negotiations with the consortium delegation had gone poorly, to put it mildly. What had started as tense diplomatic talks quickly devolved into barely veiled threats and ultimatums. The galactic powers were not prepared to accept the sudden re-emergence of a technologically advanced human civilization, especially one with legitimate claims to a supposedly relocated species homeworld. As the last of the alien diplomats stormed out of the Citadel's grand conference chamber, Lyra turned to Ava, her usual composure slipping to reveal a mix of frustration and concern. "That could have gone better," she said with a wry smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ava nodded grimly. "They're scared. The technology you've displayed, the mere fact of your survival, it challenges everything they thought they knew about humanity and their own place in the galactic hierarchy." Axios burst into the room, his cybernetic implants pulsing with urgent data. "We've got incoming. Multiple consortium warships just dropped out of FTL. They're moving into attack formation." Lyra's eyes hardened. So much for diplomacy. "Axios, initiate defense protocols. Dr. Chen, I need you and your team to begin evacuation procedures for non-essential personnel." "Evacuation?" Ava asked, startled. "But where?" "The Citadel is just phase 1, Lyra interrupted. "We always knew this day might come. That's why we prepared an escape plan." As if on cue, the floor beneath them shuddered. Ava watched in awe as sections of the Citadel began to shift and reconfigure. What she had thought was simply an advanced city fortress was transforming before her eyes. "By the stars," she breathed. "It's a ship." Axios grinned, a fierce pride in his eyes. "The Phoenix," he said. "Humanity's ark, reborn from the ashes of our past. Now, Doctor, if you'll excuse me, I have a battle to coordinate." As Axios rushed off to the command center, Lyra led Ava through the rapidly changing corridors of the Citadel-turned starship. "We hoped it wouldn't come to this," Lyra explained as they ran. "The plan was to re-establish ourselves on Earth, to reclaim our homeworld. But we knew the consortium might not allow that." They reached a vast chamber filled with rows upon rows of sleek, smaller vessels. "These are our colony ships," Lyra said, "each one capable of sustaining thousands of our people in suspended animation if necessary. Your team will help coordinate the loading process." Ava's mind reeled at the scale of the operation. "But where will you go? The consortium controls most of known space." Lyra's violet eyes gleamed with determination. "Beyond known space, Dr. Chen. We've had 500,000 years to plan this. Our long-range probes have identified potential habitable worlds far outside consortium territory. We'll establish new colonies, rebuild our strength, and then," she trailed off, leaving the implications hanging in the air. As the evacuation began in earnest, the Phoenix shuddered under the first waves of consortium attacks. The ship's defenses held, its energy shields effortlessly deflecting weapons that could have leveled entire cities. Ava worked tirelessly alongside her team, helping to coordinate the massive logistical challenge of loading thousands of newly awakened humans onto the colony's ships. All around her, ancient technology meshed seamlessly with the desperation of the moment. Hours passed in a blur of activity. The constant rumble of consortium attacks became background noise as the Phoenix engines rolled to life, preparing for their desperate escape. In the command center, Axios orchestrated a masterful defense, using technology far beyond the consortium's understanding to keep the attackers at bay. But even he knew they couldn't hold out forever. "All non-essential personnel are aboard the colony ships," Ava reported as she entered the command center, exhaustion evident in her voice. "We're ready to launch on your order." Laura nodded, her face a mask of grim determination. Axios, status report. The commander's cybernetic implants pulsed as he processed vast amounts of data. Shields at 60% and holding. Main drive is charged and ready, but we've got a problem. They're moving to surround us. If we don't leave now, we might not get another chance. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment, the weight of 500 millennia of planning and sacrifice heavy on her shoulders. When she opened them again, they burned with resolve. Begin launch sequence. It's time for humanity to forge a new path among the stars. The Phoenix shuddered as its massive engines ignited, pushing against the very fabric of space-time. The consortium fleet, caught off guard by the sudden maneuver, scrambled to reposition. "They're targeting our launch vector," Axios shouted over the rising whine of the engines. "Evasive action," Lara commanded. "Deploy countermeasures." The Phoenix twisted in ways that should have been impossible for a ship of its size, narrowly avoiding the barrage of consortium weapons fire. From its hull, swarms of autonomous drones erupted, creating a chaotic cloud of interference that confused the enemy's targeting systems. Ava gripped the edge of a console, her knuckles white as the ship bucked and weaved. Through the main view screen, she watched her homeworld, a planet she had only just begun to truly understand, grow smaller and smaller. With a final titanic surge of power, the Phoenix broke free of Earth's gravity well. Stars streaked into lines as the ship's FTL drive engaged, carrying humanity's last hope into the unknown reaches of space. In the sudden quiet that followed their escape, Ava turned to Lyra. "What now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lyra's expression was a complex mix of emotions: sorrow for the home they'd had to abandon once again, determination for the challenges ahead, and a flicker of hope for the future they would forge. "Now, Dr. Chen," she said, placing a hand on Ava's shoulder, "we begin the next chapter of human history. We find a new home, we rebuild, we grow stronger. And then, when we're ready, we return, not just to Earth, but to claim our rightful place in a galaxy that thought it had written us off." As the Phoenix hurtled through the vast emptiness of uncharted space, carrying the last free humans and the unexpected allies they'd found in Ava and her team, a new sense of purpose filled the air. They were no longer just survivors of a long-forgotten past. They were pioneers, blazing a trail into an uncertain but promising future. The journey ahead would be long and fraught with dangers, but aboard the Phoenix, the indomitable spirit of humanity burned brighter than ever. The galaxy had not seen the last of Earth's children, far from it. Their greatest chapter was just beginning. Building an underground resistance. The Phoenix and its fleet of colony ships drifted silently through the uncharted expanses of space, far beyond the reaches of consortium territory. Months had passed since their daring escape from Earth, and the initial adrenaline of their flight had given way to the sobering reality of their situation. Aboard the Phoenix's command deck, Lyra, Axios, and Alva huddled around a holographic display of their current star system. They had found a habitable planet, not as ideal as Earth, but suitable for their needs. The colony ships had already begun the process of establishing a settlement on the surface. "We've managed to set up basic infrastructure," Axios reported, his cybernetic implants flickering as he processed real-time data. "The nanoforges are operational, and we started cultivating crops adapted to the local biosphere, but we're stretched thin, and resources are limited." Lyra nodded, her violet eyes reflecting the soft glow of the hologram. "It's a start, but we can't hide out here forever. We need to begin laying the groundwork for our return." Ava, who had fully committed to the cause of these ancient humans, leaned forward. "I've been thinking about that. The consortium's grip on the galaxy isn't as absolute as they'd like us to believe. There are cracks in their facade, dissident groups, and marginalized species who chafe under their rule. If we could make contact, form alliances." "An underground resistance," Lyra finished, a spark of excitement in her voice. "Yes, that could work. We need to be careful, of course. Operate in the shadows, build our networks slowly." Axios frowned, ever the pragmatist. "It's risky. If the consortium catches wind of our activities, they could crack down hard on potential allies. Not to mention, we'd be painting a target on our own backs." "True," Lyra conceded. "But the alternative is to sit here and wait, hoping the consortium forgets about us. That's not an option. Humanity has been in the shadows for too long. It's time we started pushing back." Over the next few weeks, plans were drawn up and put into motion. Using the advanced stealth technology of the Phoenix, small teams were dispatched to various points across the galaxy. Their mission: to make contact with potential allies, gather intelligence, and sow the seeds of resistance against consortium rule. Ava found herself at the heart of these operations. Her knowledge of the current galactic landscape, combined with the trust she had built with the ancient humans, made her an invaluable asset. She worked tirelessly, coordinating missions, analyzing data, and helping to craft the narrative that would inspire others to join their cause. One by one, they made contact with dissident groups: a faction of synthetics fighting for recognition of their sentience, a coalition of rim worlds chafing under economic exploitation, even a splinter group within the consortium itself that questioned the official narrative about humanity's relocation. Each new ally brought fresh resources, information, and most importantly, hope. The whispers of resistance began to spread, a quiet undercurrent beneath the consortium's supposed galactic harmony. But their activities did not go unnoticed. The consortium, still reeling from humanity's reemergence and escape, had stepped up their patrols and surveillance. Several close calls reminded the team of the high stakes of their mission. Months turned into years. The human settlement on their new world, dubbed Nova Terra, grew and thrived. Children were born, the first new generation of humanity in 500,000 years. But even as they built their new home, their eyes remained fixed on the stars, on the home they had left behind. 5 years after their escape from Earth, Lyra called a meeting of the Resistance's inner circle. The command deck of the Phoenix was crowded with holographic projections of their allies from across the galaxy. "Friends," Lyra began, her voice carrying the weight of their shared struggle, "we've come far, but the real battle lies ahead. Our network is strong, our technology superior. The time has come to move from shadows into the light." She gestured, and a holographic map of the galaxy sprang to life, highlighting key consortium installations and power centers. "We've identified critical weaknesses in the consortium's defenses. With coordinated strikes, we can cripple their ability to respond effectively." Axios stepped forward, outlining the military strategy. The plan was audacious: simultaneous attacks on multiple fronts, using technology the consortium couldn't hope to counter. As the details were discussed, debated, and refined, Ava felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. This was it, the culmination of years of work, the moment when humanity would reclaim its place in the galaxy. But doubt nagged at her. "Lyra," she said quietly as the meeting wound down, "are we ready for this? The consortium still vastly outnumbers us. If this goes wrong..." Lyra placed a reassuring hand on Eva's shoulder. "Nothing worth doing is without risk, Dr. Chen, but look how far we've come. 5 years ago, we were refugees fleeing a lost home. Now, we stand at the head of a galactic alliance, ready to reshape the future." She turned, gazing out at the star-filled view screen. "Humanity has always been at its best when faced with impossible odds. It's in our nature to push boundaries, to defy expectations. The consortium thought they had written the final chapter of our story. It's time we showed them that humanity's greatest adventures are still to come." Ava nodded, feeling the resolve harden within her. She thought of Nova Terra, of the children born there who had never known Earth except in stories. She thought of the allies they'd made, the trust they'd built. And she thought of Earth, beautiful, blue Earth, waiting for its children to return. As the resistance leaders dispersed to prepare for the coming conflict, there was a palpable sense of anticipation in the air. Years of planning, of building in secret, were about to bear fruit. The galaxy was about to be reminded of why humanity had once been feared and respected. In her quarters later that night, Ava looked out at the unfamiliar constellations of their adopted home. Soon, those stars would be battlefields. But beyond them lay Earth, and the promise of a future where humanity could stand proud and free. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever sacrifices might be required, Ava knew in her heart that they were ready. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembled delegates. "But we do not come seeking vengeance. We come offering a new vision for the galaxy. One of true cooperation, of mutual respect and shared progress. The consortium's time has passed. Let us forge a new future together as equals." The chamber erupted in applause, the sound of hope and possibility drowning out the last whispers of the old order. In the days and weeks that followed, the work of rebuilding began. Earth, long treated as little more than a nature preserve by the consortium, was restored to its rightful place as humanity's homeworld. The advanced technology of the ancient humans, combined with the diverse knowledge of their alien allies, ushered in a new golden age of exploration and discovery. Ava found herself at the forefront of this new era, bridging the gap between the ancient humans and the modern galaxy. As she stood on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt skyline of New York, Lyra joined her. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Lyra said, a contentment in her voice that Ava had never heard before. Ava nodded, still sometimes overwhelmed by how much had changed. "I never imagined I'd see anything like this. When I first stumbled upon that bunker in the Arctic, I thought I was making a simple archaeological discovery. Instead, I found myself part of rewriting galactic history." Lyra smiled, placing a hand on Ava's shoulder. "You were the bridge we needed, Dr. Chen. Without you, none of this would have been possible." As they looked out over the city, where humans and aliens walked side by side, where ancient wonders stood alongside futuristic marvels, Ava felt a profound sense of hope. Humanity had faced extinction, endured 500,000 years of hibernation, and emerged stronger than ever. The stars no longer seemed distant and unreachable. They were a promise, a challenge, an invitation to adventure. Humanity had reclaimed its home, but their journey was far from over. The greatest chapters of their story were still to be written. As the sun set on this new age of humanity, Ava Chen, once a simple researcher, now a key architect of galactic history, smiled. The future was bright, and it belonged to all of them, the children of Earth and the stars alike.